Welcome to the HU Move Makers podcast, where we highlight folks that are blazing the trail and making moves in Howard culture. Yo, welcome to another installment of the HU Move Maker podcast, where we highlight folks that have contributed to the legacy of the Mecca, also known as Howard University. Today, I got a special guest, Resheida Brady from the city of Wynn, Chicago, Illinois. Bachelor's from Howard University, Master's from USC in Fine Arts. But you may know her from being Mary Jane, Good Trouble, Blackish, or Sex Life on Netflix. But currently, she's the producer of one of the producers on the Godfather of Harlem. So it's my extreme pleasure to introduce Resheida Brady. Welcome to the show, Miss Brady.
Thanks for having me.
Yes. Man, getting her on this show was tough. I had to talk to her agent.
Why?
I had to talk to my wife. Man, it's like I had to send smoke signals. But you know what? That's how Howard is. Because at Howard, I learned from standing in them long lines. Sometimes you just got to wait, you know.
The A building.
It ain't going to come overnight. But it's all good. So Miss Brady, you know, I watch every episode of Godfather of Harlem. How did you get to the point in your career where somebody cares about you enough and think you're so valuable that where you can write about, you know, a script like that or a project like that?
Well, I went to Howard obviously for undergrad in production, and then I went to USC for production. And I did that strategically because you don't need a master's degree to be a TV writer. But I am not the type of person to like just meet people. Like I'm very introverted. So I needed the community of school to like get in, like to get my network.
So you knew that going in, like I need this degree to speak for me because I'm a little low key.
Yeah, I'm not going to network, but in school, I'm going to talk to people and then they will be my network.
Wow, that's an interesting strategy, and it looks like it worked out.
It did. I had this plan. So what I did was I joined the African American Cinema Society, and I was like, I'm going to work the green room because, you know, they have these panelists, and like the panelists will talk to you if you are there to like service them basically. But like if you just in the auditorium listening. Yeah. So I did that. And this woman, Tracy Blackwell, who works at the CW network, was one of the panelists. And she was nice to me. It was like, just give me your number, your like information. And she put me in for every job. I'm like, she was doing that for like 5 years. Just kept.
So when you say every job, what do you mean by job?
Assistant.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you saying when you had these assistant roles, you was basically able to like speak one-on-one to people and kind of sell yourself in that way and network?
Well, no, just meeting her from the Cinema Society, she would use her network and send out to all the powerful people she knew. And whenever she heard of a job, because they don't post jobs in the industry, then she would put me in the pot for that job to be in the writer's room. And the first one that took was The Game when it went to BET.
Oh, you were right on The Game too?
I was the assistant on The Game.
Oh, the assistant.
So I was a writer's assistant.
So this is not no overnight thing.
No. What is overnight?
So you saying you paid your dues?
I definitely paid my dues. I was like, before that, I was an intern at Edmonds Entertainment, and I got no money. I wasn't. It was a paid. And then I would like write for a church, West Angeles.
Why would somebody do something that's not paid? Why would you do that?
Because you have to get in the industry. You like Edmonds Entertainment. Actually, that's dope because that was the first industry job I had. It was an intern at Edmonds Entertainment. My supervisor was a woman named Sheila Ducksworth. Sheila Ducksworth now is over development at Will Packer's company. Like she's over TV development at Will Packer's company.
Wait, say that for real?
Yes. So like it worked out that the first internship, I got something that was free, but that now in my life, she's the development for TV at Will Packer, so I could just call her because I work for free. Yeah.
Wow, that's
so dope. Then I was an assistant for Akil Productions, Myra Brock Akil, at The Game, and then I went to Being Mary Jane, and then I went back to The Game, And then I went to Blackish. I was an assistant there as well. I didn't write.
What was that like working on Blackish? Because that's like a top show in the US right now, and you don't really see too many black shows that are syndicated like that, you know.
Yeah, it was so fun. It was very fun because we had a lot of debates, and the room is very like split down the middle, half white, half black. And I just remember like
What
we
do you
would
mean half black, half white? It's
the
like
right,
white folks. It's white folks writing out about the black experience.
yeah.
Oh damn.
It's
Okay,
not an
keep
all
going.
black room. It's half black,
Really?
half white. Yeah.
Well, now
But
was
it
that?
would be cool because he would ask. I remember this one episode that we did. I don't even know if we even did the episode, but about changing her last. Oh, it was. It was about whether Rainbow would change her last. She changed her last name to Dre's last name, Johnson, but she was like, my maiden name is Johnson. That was the episode. And in the room, what we did was he was like, how many women in here have changed their last name? And all the black women raised their hand. And how many women in here haven't changed their last name? All the white women raised their hand. Or they were like, how many people in here make more money than their husband? And like, well, actually, everybody raised their hands, but it was more because TV writing is pretty lucrative. But it always would be split down the middle, and we would have these amazing discussions about why is different in the black community. And it would always have to do with slavery, but like that's how we got the episode. So it was really good having those like really deep
So I have a question. So, what makes a white writer qualified to write on a show called Blackish?
Well, if you're going to talk about the black perspective, and the point is, it's a black man in a white world. So they do have
Ah,
both
oh,
opinions in the room.
okay, okay, okay.
And then I think Blackish, the whole point of it is to educate white people on why black people do the things that they do. So it's kind of cool that there's white people in the room. So we could be like, you didn't know that about us. And then
Yeah,
we know to put it in the show.
really? So
Mhm.
them conversations must have been crazy.
They were very good. They
That's
were,
tight. That's tight. And I know you said so even in that experience, I mean, it's pretty cool that the main character of the show is a Howard grad.
yeah.
How cool is that?
It's very cool. It's very cool. We've connected on being Howard grads. I mean, I didn't see Anthony that much, but I mean, I did. I did see him a lot, but I didn't talk to him a lot.
So when you're writing these roles, are you writing? Do you when you guys get together and write? Do you write it based on, man, we think Anthony Anderson could like his personality fits this role, or do you write the role and then like do people like audition for it, or do you write it towards his strengths or whatever? Like how does that go?
Well, I believe that in this case, because this was Kenya's first show, and many times it's easier to sell a show when you have uh, somebody attached to it. So
Oh, okay.
Kenya and his agents and his managers got Anthony and Lawrence Fishburne attached to it, which is why they're EPs. And so it was easier for him to sell to ABC because they were like,
Oh, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
they're already attached.
Yeah, definitely. So that's cool. So right now, so when you're on Blackish, you were the assistant
I was
writer.
still the assistant, yeah.
So
And then,
tell me some of the things that an assistant writer would do that maybe I guess a lead writer wouldn't do.
oh, so I'm the writer's assistant. Basically, takes notes and writes on the board, proofs the notes, proofs the script. In a comedy room, they will do revisions and like I'll be at the computer and there'll be a TV monitor showing what's on my computer, and they're like, change this line to this, and I would change it.
Welcome to the Go Fish Village podcast. As a Chinese proverb says, give a man a fish and you feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish and you feed him for a lifetime. At Go Fish, our goal is to teach individuals just like you how to build wealth through real estate. So when you were at Howard, I mean, is that how you were taught? Or was it like something totally new where you just had to like,
I wasn't going to be a TV writer when I was at Howard. I was
okay.
going to be a film director. So I did production at Howard.
Oh,
And
okay.
then at 9:30 p.m., I was ready to go to sleep, and we had 15 more shots to do it. I was like, you know what? I'm not going to be a director anymore. I'm too sleepy for this. So then I went to USC, and I guess I had some type of a brain lapse and forgot that I hated production because I signed up for production again. And so I ended up doing, but then when I was at USC doing production track, I decided to like switch tracks to writing,
Mm-hmm.
but I still was in production. So I got the best of both worlds, which is good because a TV writer is technically a producer. So it was good that I did production.
So
Um,
how much of like what you learned, like what you do now, was taught in school versus how much you learned in a job?
I learned pretty much everything on the job.
Wow, wow. But I mean, ironically enough, though, USC is one of the top film schools, though.
It
And
is.
so, I mean, it's
You
good to
know
have
what
on a
they
resume,
say?
though.
They say that you go to grad school to get out all your bad ideas, and they're 1,000% correct. Like
Really?
all the like projects I did at grad school, I was like, oh my god, this is so bad.
You mean like your original ideas that you thought was gonna be like these great
I was like,
things?
this gonna hit. This gonna make so much money. And then I would do it. I mean, I did it in grad school. It just now I've learned so much, and that's another thing. It's like to come into being a writer, they want you to have a script.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really difficult to break story by yourself. And the way you learn how to break story is by being in a room. So it's this
When you say a
conundrum,
room, you like a room with
a
like
writer's,
like-minded.
a writer's room.
Oh, okay, okay.
The writer's room. So you're there and you are basically with the other writers and they're breaking the story and you learn why they did what they didn't do, stuff like that. And then you start to put that into your own script, like, oh well, they didn't do this because it didn't set it up. Oh, I didn't set this up. You learn stuff but by watching it. 100%, I didn't get really good at breaking story until I became an actual writer and was there with other um, experienced writers who basically I worked with them to do it, and so then I learned more.
Oh, nice.
Hmm.
So when you were doing this internship, was that before USC or after?
After,
So
after.
how humbling was that? I mean, like, so when you go to USC, you go to this big film school. I'm sure you have a ton of ambition. I mean, you already went to Howard, the Mecca. You know what I'm saying? Well, you go from Howard to USC. Now you're doing internships. Some of them not paid. Like, were you mentally prepared for that already, or is that just how the game goes? Like, what type of
That's just life. It's all
yeah?
cyclical. Freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. Freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. It's just all cyclical. And so coming from USC, I went freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. It was a 3-year program, and then you just go back to freshman year, which is like internship. And then the internship, then I started to get paid as an assistant sophomore.
Mm,
And then I was an assistant for 5 years, and being somebody from Howard. First of all, we come out so um, like people owe us, so because we're like, oh, I got my degree from Howard University.
we're a little entitled, huh?
We are very entitled, which is the word I was looking for. I lost it. Yes, we're very entitled. And so being an assistant for 5 years, that was the most humbling part because everybody I worked for was like, you're so good at being in a writer's room, essentially, because my scripts were good, but I needed to work on story structure. And but being in a writer's room, you basically have to just have a personality and be somebody that people want to be around and be funny and charming. Like literally, that's what they want. And you have to be a good writer. But mostly you have to be able to articulate your experience to others for them to be able to put it into the script.
So when you're an assistant, I mean, do you have an agent, or are you not at that
No,
level yet?
no, you
You just Resheida.
coffee. You just Rashida with a hope and a dream. And you could honestly never make it as a writer. And I thought that was going to be me because I was in all of these comedy rooms. I was in Blackish and The Game. And so they all were saying I was good, but they couldn't really promote me because I didn't want to write comedy. And
Really?
so, yeah, so I was just like, fine, forget it. I'll write comedy. But then I had to write an actual comedy to prove I could do it. And I was like, I can't write comedy.
Wow. So you okay? So you working there for how many years were you on Blackish?
Only one season, season 2.
Season 2. Okay, but that's still a hell of an experience. I mean, And then you're going through all of this adversity, not, adversity in terms of, you trying to get income to support yourself.
Right.
What was that like? Because I'm sure you probably looking around at some of your peers, maybe not in the same career, but,
Right.
you're getting older. You like, shit, I want to make some money. How many times did you want to quit? And you living in LA. It ain't cheap to live out there.
Um,
You know, how did you, what made you persevere and not quit?
the fact that I knew I was in the right place, because when Mara Brocker killed Kenya Barris, Yvette Lee Bowser, who created Living Single, I looked at my phone and I had all these people's phone numbers in my phone.
Wow.
Like Mara, Celine, Kenya, Yvette. I have all these people's phone numbers, and I'm an assistant, and I'm like, well, apparently God put me in positions with to meet these people. He didn't do it for me to be an assistant. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you think that was his grand plan? And so it kept me there, because I'm like, apparently it's already been determined for me. I just have to persevere and get to the next pot.
Mm.
And specifically for me, what I had to do was I had to like kind of let it go, because I am type A ambitious, and I say what I want, and I go after what I want with extreme tenacity. And I pushed so hard and nothing happened. And then when I was on Blackish is when I got pregnant with my kid. And
What's up, Sky?
she's with her daddy. But yeah, like, and I was like, oh, this is the worst now. I'm never gonna get staffed,
So
because
where does that tenacity and ambition come from?
I was born with I've
Okay.
always been this way. But also, you get one life and you die. Like, okay, if I fail at doing this is my one life.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm just gonna ride it till the wheels fall off. And so that was just how I felt about it. I was like, what else am I gonna do? I'm not gonna be happy doing anything else. So
Mm.
this is it. I don't have a plan B.
That's deep. That's dope, though. That's dope. That's how you got to think. And I mean, that's dope. I mean, everything you touched on are feelings that has been a common theme just in doing this podcast or show or whatever you want to call it. So you do Blackish for a year. You look in your Rolodex.
Mm-hmm.
It's getting thick. You like, oh, okay, I got some people. So what was the next move after you left Blackish, and when did what made that feel right?
Well, so yes, I got pregnant, and then so I was due in August, or no, September, and Blackish would have started in June. So it would have been a really bad time for me to have a baby. So
Mm.
I didn't go back to Blackish. But
Wow.
I literally,
Were you worried at all,
I
or you
was
just like,
terrified. I was
wow?
terrified because I was about to have a baby. I didn't have a place to live. I was about to be on welfare because my money was running out from unemployment. And I now was less marketable because I was about to have an infant. I was
Yeah.
terrified.
Mm.
And like what ended up happening was I had met this guy, Brandon Lawrence. He went to Morehouse. And
Shout out to the house. I'm interviewing the vice president of Morehouse tomorrow. Actually, he went to
oh
Howard,
cool.
so it's cool. It's love.
Well, so I met him like years before.
Mm-hmm.
Like and he had read my script. He was like, "You're dope." But he was actually like an assistant at CAA, which is a talent
Oh yeah, for sure.
agency. So I mean, nothing ever came of it. I get pregnant, and my friend is like, "You should call Brandon." And I'm like, "Okay." I'm like, he's not gonna take me on, like, because agents only take on people that already have a gig. So, and I'm pregnant and have no gig, not even an assistant gig. So I meet him, and he's like, "I got you. I'll
Really?
represent you." But he wasn't an agent yet. So I was like, "Oh, is he like using this opportunity to make himself an agent?" He actually sent my stuff to the new person that was taking over being Mary Jane,
So your
and
stuff. What does that mean? Your stuff.
my script. Yeah, I had a script by then.
Was
Yeah.
this for a script that made it like you got a project that made it to TV, or just
No,
something?
uh-uh.
Okay.
It was my personal. It was just my personal script, because you have to
Mm-hmm.
write a sample basically to prove you can write.
Got you. Got you.
So he sent it to her. They actually hired somebody else. I remember saying this out my mouth. Like you hear this on interviews when people say stuff out their mouth. I said, everybody that they hire is going to be horrible because I'm the one that's supposed to have that position.
Wow.
And I moved on with my life. I didn't think about it. And that was when I knew that, oh, I really gave it to God. Because before I was like, you're never going to do anything. You want me to be assistant for life.
Damn.
So what happened was I had my baby. I moved into a house. I was 3 months.
But when you were pregnant, I mean, was that something that was like a mutual decision between you and the show, or you just said, I can't do both, and you
No,
just stepped back?
no. They said they didn't have the budget for me.
Okay. Hey, they couldn't afford you. They
Okay.
couldn't afford you. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
So it's okay because at
It's
this
okay.
point I took my hands off the wheel and really let Jesus take the wheel. So when that happened, I was like, okay, like this is what my story is. Cool. All right. Also, I was a zombie because I was going through like a whole lot of emotional turmoil when I was pregnant. So I was just kind of like, all right. So I had the baby and then I had to go on welfare because I had ran out of unemployment money. I had a 3-month-old. I was nursing. I'm sitting in the chair. I'm sitting
Wow.
right now. This is the chair I was sitting in, rocking, nursing her. And a girl that I didn't know who went to Howard and USC. I didn't know she had my phone number. She called me and was like, "Hey, you want this assistant gig at being
Really?
Hey."
She
Yeah,
just called you out the blue?
called me out the blue. I didn't even know she had my number. And I'm
Damn.
like,
Your phone's probably about to be cut off too.
well, I was like, I said I did it because you don't make a lot of money as an assistant. And now I had a kid. And I was like, I'm not doing these assistant roles anymore. I've done them for 5 years. I'm out. But I was like, let me take the meeting so I can at least meet this person because this is the first drama that, so I'm not in a comedy, I'm in a drama. So I meet the woman and the woman has a 6-month-old baby. And I have a 3-month-old. And so she's like, I'm like, I can't do it unless I know you're going to give me a script. And she's like, okay, I'll give you the script. I started that on Halloween and she promoted me on Thanksgiving.
Damn. It sounds like, from what I'm hearing, it sounds like this experience kind of forced you to stand up for yourself and because at first it sounds like, when you started, you was like, this degree gonna speak for me. It's gonna get me in the room. But then it became like feast or famine, and you like, look, you know what I'm saying? For me to get out the bed, I'm not taking no backward steps.
It was having my daughter because I was
Mhm.
like, she's gonna see me, and what is she gonna see when she sees me? And I knew what I wanted her to see when she saw me, so I went in with that type of.
So she see a boss now.
That's what I wanted
You
to
see
do.
a boss. Okay. So, okay. And that's a really good story, man, because a lot of women, have children and they, it's tough. It sucks to have to decide between career and child, because, you got your child, you got your career, you're getting pulled in both directions. And a lot of people give up. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? A lot of people give up and feel sorry for themselves. So I'm glad to hear you persevere. So, okay, so you have your child, you got this new opportunity, you get promoted on Thanksgiving. What are we working on now?
Now I am working on 2 features.
Well, not now, but now in terms of like, what's the promotion?
Oh, you talking about being Mary Jane?
Yeah. So that's when you're working on being Mary Jane.
I was an assistant, and then I got promoted to staff writer. So now I'm officially a writer and no longer an assistant.
Wow. So how does that chain go in terms of like?
Writer's PA, which is the people who basically get lunch and make sure that the office is running smoothly. Then it's the writer's assistant, which is the people that take notes and they proof, send things to the network. Then it's script coordinator. Actually, script coordinator at BET. Basically, the writer's assistant and script coordinator just combined. But but normally it's like the writer's assistant will take notes and keep track of the notes, and the script coordinator will like get the script, proof it, will do all the different versions of the production drafts and all of that stuff. It's a very tedious job, which is why if you're good at it, you usually in it for a long time because people don't want to be a good script coordinator. Then it's a staff writer, which you're no longer an assistant, you're actually a writer. and you
Wow. So you're a
lower,
writer.
yeah, yeah.
So okay, it's funny because now you go from a big network, ABC. Now you're
Be
working for BET,
let me
but
think.
you got a
The money,
bigger.
the money's green in both. It
Okay.
does not matter, and the money is the same. People like are like, no, you get more. No, the money is because it's under. When you get in the union, they have a minimum, so
Okay.
the money is the same. I mean, it's just different executives, but the money's the same both.
Dope, man. So you're in that. So now you're a staff writer. So this
Yeah,
got to be a big shot to your ego, right? You got to be feeling yourself.
couldn't tell me nothing.
Okay, because I remember you said earlier, okay, writers get paid. So now you in that I'm getting paid category at that point? Are you like, woo?
I mean, when you don't have a kid, you like rolling around in it. When you got a kid, you like buy the Pampers.
Okay, okay. So what about the in terms of is it is it are you forced to I know you said the pay is the same because of the union. What about the resources from working at a BET versus an ABC? Are you forced to be more creative being at BET, or is it, kind of the same thing?
Same thing. I
Okay.
mean, the only thing is that when it's a different, people look at it differently on your resume.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Because I went from BET to Godfather of Harlem. And so I wrote a script, Cabrini, about Cabrini Green.
Yes. Yes.
And that's what got me Godfather of Harlem. So
Really?
yeah, I wrote my behind off. Oh my God.
So let me
Behind off,
before
yeah.
you go there. Okay, I want to just go on Being Mary Jane. So how long were you writing on Being Mary Jane?
Just that one season because it was the last season.
Wow. So to me personally, I'm an entrepreneur, but it just seems so stressful to do something for a season and
Oh,
then have to go find something else. Because,
yeah.
like, do people go from staff writer and then go back to being like an assistant? Is that a thing?
Some have. Some actually have, and that's really like
Man.
I swore to goodness I was not gonna do that. I was like, no, I'm never gonna go back. But that's the entitlement again speaking. But I do have a friend who worked on a soap opera. She was a writer, and then she was my assistant. She was not my assistant. She was an assistant with me. Um, so yeah, some people do go back, but I think after being Mary Jane, it was a year before I got another job, and
So
that
what are you doing? So Being Mary Jane, I know my wife watched it. One of my employees, she brought it up today in our meeting about it, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna tell Resheida. I said Resheida said, "What's up?" She was like, "Really? Oh my god."
oh my God.
Being Mary Jane, like, okay, popular show, at least in our culture, it's a popular show. What is that feeling like being a staff writer on a show that's popular in our culture? Obviously, you're a writer. People may not, you don't get that popularity, but it got to be some type of fulfillment that you're getting, knowing that, you in a beauty shop and people are talking about your work. Like, what does that feel like?
It feels good. It does. I mean, I was just so happy to be a writer at that point that I wasn't. I was take everything felt good at that point because
Mhm.
I had really worked hard to get there. And the other aspect is people choose these careers and then they get on them and find out they don't like them. I didn't feel that way. I was like, oh my God, I chose right. Like, this is exactly who I am, what I want to be. So I was like living it up. It does feel good. Like, but it's funny because I have the background.
Mhm.
I know. So sometimes people like something, but I'm like, I know what was pitched and it was better than that. Like, so sometimes I don't agree just because I have a little bit more information, but it's still cool when people, and also the other thing is you like live with these characters for like what? I mean, I think the last season of Being Mary Jane was 20 episodes. So we lived with these people for like 6 months. And so sometimes you're exhausted just saying their names.
How many writers, staff writers, I should say, were a part of that?
There was three of us. It was a married couple and me.
Really?
hmm
So when you were a staff writer and you worked with other writers, I mean, are you guys in constant communication, like all the time?
No, it feels a lot like high school. Like you're super, super close to these people, then you graduate and then you never talk again.
But when you work in the show, you're talking every day.
Super close. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and what interaction do you have like with the actual actors and director and producer?
Um, not as a staff writer, you don't have any interaction with them, but as you get
Really?
like higher up, like they may, if they come by the room, I think Michael Ealy came by the room for Being Mary Jane, and then I helped with the finale, so I went to set, so I talked to them when they were on set. But when you're a staff writer, you're just there to write. You don't really get to interact with the people yet. But once you're a producer, you interact with them.
So I mean, are people hitting you up as shows become popular? Are people like in your DMs, like saying, "Hey, add this to the show"? Like, how much of outside noise influences what you actually write?
Nothing.
Really?
Correct.
Wow.
Nobody is looking at the credits besides my friend.
Wow. Wow. I mean, what's that like the first time you see your name in the credit?
Oh my God, it's surreal.
You like pause the screen? Like,
Yes, yes, yes.
okay. So one year on Being Mary Jane, 20
Mhm.
episodes. That sounds like a lot. I mean, that's like an
I
episode.
came the second half, so I only did 10 episodes.
Okay. Okay.
Mhm.
Now, when you're a staff writer, is there ever like, do you guys write everything jointly, or do you write episode 9 and somebody does episode
Yeah.
10? How does
But
that work?
but we break the season together, and we're like, so this episode, this is gonna happen, and then we break down what each scene is gonna be, and we agree on it, and then they'll give me the task of actually implementing it. But we all agree, we know what happened, so it's not like I go home and think about it. I just write what we came up with in the room.
So is there ever like a thing where you might write something and then you see it, you like, that's not what I wrote? Or, like
No,
who
because
added that part?
no, you write. So your job as like a writer on the show is to write you write what the showrunner wants. So I write
Oh,
it,
okay.
I give it to the showrunner, and then she goes through and she changes whatever she.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah,
So the showrunner is the person you report to, kind of.
yeah. That's the architect of the season.
Wow. Wow. I
Mhm.
never knew any of this, and I'm still
Yeah,
learning.
I know. A lot of people don't know.
So, okay, because I just always thought writers just had like the ultimate power.
No,
So you Being Mary Jane ends, and you said now you're, I don't know, do you call it unemployed or do you call it freelancing? Like, what is it at this point?
it technically is freelancing because you do this project, you sign a contract, and then you're unemployed, and then you sign another contract. So it is freelancing, but you go on unemployment, and then you have your agents submit you to other different shows, and then you meet for those shows.
So, okay, so after Being Mary Jane, you told me you started your own project, the Cabrini, right?
I wrote another sample, so I wrote this with Nikki.
Okay.
She
Shout out
brought.
to Nikki. That's my cousin for everybody who wants to know. Yeah. So you write the project with Nikki, and
So
what
Nikki
happened?
came to me with Cabrini, and this might be an interesting story. So at the time, I was experiencing. So as a lot of people can hear, I have a deep Chicago accent.
So before we even go into Cabrini, should we tell people the history, like what Cabrini is?
Okay,
So what I mean, Cabrini Green. I'll let you talk about it.
mine is my history is just gonna be it's the projects
Right. It's the projects
in Chicago,
by
and they
Lincoln Park, right? Kind of where you went to high school,
high
right?
school, yeah,
Yeah. So I first learned about Cabrini Green, Candyman, Candyman, Candyman. That's
or good times, which there were no good times, but
right. Or that's where Good
it was
Times not necessarily was filmed, but that's where
it
they
was
said they lived.
exactly.
So Chicago is known for these high-rise housing projects, and Cabrini Green was like one of the most notorious housing projects. A lot of violence, low income. Everybody's packed in together. So I just wanted to give people a background of Cabrini in case they don't know, what it means. But go ahead. So Cabrini, tell us about that project.
So Nikki brought Cabrini to me, and she wanted to write it, and she wanted to write it. So I was like, okay, well, I'll help you. I'll like mentor you in writing it. And then we broke it together, and then basically somehow I just was like, okay, I'll just do it. And I just wrote it. And because then we like submitted it somewhere, and they were like, we get a bad, because every draft that you do is not right.
Mm-hmm.
So we got like a bad number or something, and I was ticked. And then I gave it to one of my. So now I'm getting obsessed.
What's a bad number? What's that mean?
So we actually submitted it to the blacklist. The blacklist is this. It's like they pay you to read it and then tell you if it's good or not. You pay them to read your script, and they will tell you if it's good or not, which is
Wow.
weird
What
because
type of
Mhm.
finesse move is that?
Somebody came up with that, and
Wow.
it's interesting because you really shouldn't get notes from somebody who doesn't like your work. So
Mm.
I think these people didn't get it. So, but it doesn't matter. They gave it to me, and so I was like, I got obsessed. The entitled, ambitious type A that I
Mm-hmm.
am, and so I gave it to somebody that worked on Being Mary Jane, an upper level, and was like, "Can you read this for me?" And she was like, "This is what it is, Resheida. Change it to this." And I was like, "Oh!" So this is when I just took it over from. I was like, "Nikki, I'll write it." And so I wrote it. I had to rewrite it, and then I would get her input basically based off of the note that I got from the girl. So I changed it over or whatever, and then I just put so much blood, sweat, and tears in it that it just was it was really good. And so I gave it back to Blacklist, and again we got a low number, and I was like, these people do not, because my friend from Being Mary Jane, the upper level, read it and was like, this is good. Do not listen to these people. So, and to this day, most of my jobs are from that script.
Wow.
Most,
Really?
yes, because it just
So how does the opportunity come from something that had like negative reviews? Like how does that work?
because art is subjective,
So
and most
so it
people,
just took one person to take an interest in it and be like,
yeah,
yo,
yeah.
wow.
And the thing is, I don't know who that person was. It's an internet service, so I give it to them, and they don't know me.
So you pay them to do the review, how much should like how much money do you guys have to pay them to review it?
Is that gonna be your next entrepreneurial?
No, it might be because I'm gonna just say everybody's garbage. and, like yo, that's
Yes,
trash.
because when they say it's garbage, I redo it and I resubmit it. So now we've done this twice. I don't remember how much it was because we paid twice for this stupid review, and like it was funny because like it wasn't fair because it was a personal taste. I'm like, if I'm paying you, you need to just tell me if the story structure works. You do not need to give me your personal taste, because she didn't like the way I introduced the character. And so when I talked to the upper level of Being Mary Jane, she was like, well, I wasn't a fan of it either, but that's just because I'm not that person. It described her very well. It was a great introduction of that character. And I'm like, that's what I thought. And she was like, she just wasn't a fan of what the woman did, which is,
Okay, so
I'm not paying
you
you for your
submit this
opinion.
thing. So are we talking about thousands of dollars you got to pay?
No, no,
Couple
no.
hundred. So if this could bring, can you like summarize what this story is about in case
It is
somebody
like
wants to go see it?
The Wire. Well, I haven't done it. I didn't shoot it or anything. It's
Oh, it
like
was just like right because you guys were raising money for that, right?
we were raising money for it. Yeah. So what happened was, because I ended up actually being the one to like write it and kind of do it, it became my sample. So that's how I got, Godfather of Harlem, and like pretty much most of my jobs have read. I get a lot of meetings for that one, but not because they
Man.
want to produce it, because it's about three Black women who are in Cabrini Green, who like, and every time people talk about like urban Chicago, urban America, they always do it from the men's point of view, like the drug dealers and the gang members and stuff like that,
Oh,
and
okay.
not always. So I wanted to tell it from women's points of view.
Nice.
Yeah.
Wow. So it deals with all of that stuff.
Yes, it does. It's really just about the women instead of the men, and the men
So
obviously.
is this project gonna happen? Because
If
now
you
I'm
guys would like,
interested.
if you guys would like to donate,
So where I mean, if
definitely
people
costs
do want
money.
to donate, I mean, how would they support that?
Uh, if you put stuff on the bottom of the screen, call Nikki. She can give you the link to put on the bottom of the screen.
Okay, I'm gonna make sure I get Nikki's info, put it in there, so that when we air this show, people can support that project. Cause I think it's pretty cool. I mean, I didn't know that it was from like the point of view of three women, which is totally different. Just like you said, I mean, we've heard every angle but definitely women definitely get left out when it comes to committing these crimes. you
Yeah.
know, so that's cool. So okay, so you wrote that, and now it's kind of a springboard for Godfather of Harlem.
Yes.
So now you got an agent, you getting that staff writer money, things is good. You feeding your daughter, and now the Godfather of Harlem. So who reaches out? How does that process happen?
Oh, no. I had an agent by then. So my agent had sent out my scripts all over the place. This is the interesting part. So in LA at the time, I was being judged for my accent. Like I was being considered ghetto because of
Ghetto? No, we don't
Erie, Chicago.
know.
And they were like, ugh. And this was like people from Black LA. And they're like, if you came in talking like that, I wouldn't hire you, things like that.
Mm,
And so when Nikki brought the project to me, I didn't want to do it because at that moment I was trying to find a way to shed my accent.
mm. So
And
question. I mean, I'm sure your homies, I'm sure you got a lot of friends that maybe they dabble in what you do full time. Do you ever feel pressure? Like, do they? I'm sure. Do they hit you up with ideas a lot, and you
no,
like, no, that doesn't
not my
happen.
friends, not my friends, no, because
Oh, they not with that, huh?
no, and plus, I mean, no, they don't call me like I got an idea for a story. I mean,
Oh,
Nikki,
okay.
Nikki wasn't my friend before she did that. I met her that way.
Oh, really? Okay, that's
Yeah,
cool. That's cool. Because I ask everybody that, like, what's it like? People have direct access to you, and they feel like, hey, I got this idea, let's do something,
no,
but they're
because
not really respecting the times that you was doing this for free
but
and
not
the
only
whole
that, it
grind.
takes like sometimes months to write a script. So you having an idea and me sitting and wrestling with it for
Mhm.
months, that's like, oh, I have an invention. That don't mean somebody is about to sit there all these months and
So,
implement it.
at what point, if a young person or an inexperienced, I should say, person who does have the ability, like at what point do you take them serious? Do they have to have something already there that you
It
can
is.
read? Okay,
Yes.
they just got to come correct, basically.
Yes.
Okay, that's good to know because a lot of people, like I get a lot of people that hit me up saying, "Oh, I got this business. I want you to look
I
at."
hit you up.
People hit me up, and my response is always like, "Do you have a business plan?" You know what I'm saying? Because I don't want to like just go through something that you're not fully committed to and you can't answer certain questions. But
Well, that's the thing with Hollywood. Everybody is a writer. Everybody's an actor, but it's like everybody is that. How do you stand out? How are you different?
so is it hard to stand out knowing that
No, that's what I was about to say. That what Cabrini did for me. Most of the shows that I've been on have been white shows,
mm,
and the reason is because they needed somebody. I was told
I
like
needed somebody that was ghetto and they was like,
no, they needed
Sheeta.
somebody that can tell a different black experience. Like black people that are like whitewashed. Well, white people know that experience. They don't need you for that. And what was great was that I provided something that they didn't know, and that's what your writing has to do. Your writing has to give a perspective that a showrunner doesn't know so that they can hire you and you can be actually a necessity to their story because you have a point of view that they can't ever.
Right. They can't just go on the street and find another Rashida, you know. I mean, that's basically what I'm hearing. I mean, because you adding something that's different. And I
That's
think
different.
that's what viewers probably want to see. They don't want to see the same thing, which is evidenced by what you did with Cabrini. You bringing something different. You got three women instead of a male perspective. So I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So, you get the opportunity now, I'm like, is there anything that you won't write about? You know, like like, does it work? Do you have to just like if somebody said, "Hey, Rashida, I want you to write for this," is there something that you like? Nah, that's really not something I feel
Yeah.
comfortable doing.
Yes, but it changes periodically because I wouldn't have written Cabrini, before, and then I wrestling with it helped me to understand a lot more and get a different perspective. And so I wrote that, but I also don't want to be put in a box.
Mm-hmm.
So um it just changes. It changes because I've written a lot of like actually I've written everything at this point. Like different I'm saying different stuff. So Being Mary Jane, and then I did Godfather of Harlem, which is very different from Being Mary Jane, obviously.
So
Then
what's
I
your
went,
role on Godfather of Harlem?
huh?
What's your role on that show?
I'm the only black woman. There's 3 black women on the show. That's my role. Black women.
Really?
Mhm.
What do you mean? The only black woman?
I'm the only black woman that works in that room.
Really?
Hmm
So, but you are a producer on that show, right?
Now, I
Are
was
you?
a story editor before then.
So you're not. So you're not writing, right? Or you are
I am
writing?
writing. I am writing. So TV writers, but we have a
I,
scale. So then staff writer, story editor, executive story editor, co-producer, producer,
wow.
supervising producer, co-EP, EP
It's levels to this shit. Damn. So
level.
so now you're above a staff writer.
Yes.
Dang, I didn't know that. I
Every
didn't
time,
know that.
usually, what it really is every time you get to a new show, your reps fight for you to get the next level, and
Wow.
it just so happens.
So what's that like? That's a big deal. You're
Mhm,
the only black woman on a
mhm,
show about, you know, basically it's a black show, not saying it's targeted to just black people, but it's definitely a black experience that took place in Harlem. And now you like it ain't, you have a lot of influence on
yeah,
that show. What is that like?
it's great.
Like, do you feel like a sense of responsibility in terms of it's bigger than me? Like
Yes, but
like
at
what
the
what
same
goes through your
time,
mind when you showing up to work and when you putting pen to paper?
it, again, the showrunner is the architect. So
Oh, okay.
I am just the showrunner is like, this is what I want to happen, and then I'm like, okay, well, this is how this woman would feel about that. Like, so the scene should not be this because she wouldn't feel that. She wouldn't, you know, that's what I do. I basically help his dreams come true.
Welcome to the Go Fish Village podcast. As a Chinese proverb says, give a man a fish and you feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish and you feed him for a lifetime. At Go Fish, our goal is to teach individuals just like you how to build wealth through real estate. Hmm.
Yeah.
So, with that show being on Godfather of Harlem, you
hmm
know, do you and I and it's a great show. I watched every episode, by the way. Do you feel like, man, this is another show putting black people in this light? So you feel like pressure for the writing to be even greater? Because like The Wire, it's like a hood show, but the writing is just so dope. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Versus like, I hate when I see like the black show and then the writing is just horrible. To me, it just sets us back. It's like, damn, y'all
Right.
didn't even
Yeah.
try to make us have any type of intellect.
Well, I would never have it. I wouldn't have control over that. I'm not going to have control over that till I'm the showrunner. But
Okay.
the show is ran by Chris Brancato, who created Narcos. So it was always going to be written well.
Oh yeah. I love
Yes.
all of those. I watched all of those too.
Yes. So it was created by Chris Brancato and Paul Eckstein,
Mm-hmm.
and it was going to be written well always, and that's why I love working with them because as a writer, you want to work with people who are like really highbrow, people, and so you can learn.
So, I mean, when you were, prepping for this show, are you studying like Bumpy Johnson and
Yeah,
people that really?
you have to research for that show. It's a super hard show to write for.
And so, are you talking to people that were close to him too?
Yep.
Damn.
We spent the first season in Harlem, not in Harlem. That's a lie. We spent the first season in Brooklyn. I'm sorry, my battery is gonna die. I had more time.
It's okay.
Um,
This is good.
in in Brooklyn, and we
Beautiful house, by the way. That writer money it's lit.
okay. So yes, we met all these like gangsters and DAs and
So
stuff like that.
So what I do, I could pause it, I could pause it, and then
Oh,
press,
good.
just in case you want to get comfortable. But
Okay.
basically, we just getting to the point where we
Like, did I meet?
okay, yeah. So I'm back recording now. So you were telling me, the amount of research that goes into writing something like this, and I would imagine, when you're writing something that's kind of based on truth, you can probably throw in little elements of fiction to fill in the gaps. But you know, what type of research goes into to writing about something that people can just look up on Wikipedia and be like, yo, or people that's still alive and who experienced that, like, that's not what happened. Like, what type of research goes into it?
You got to meet the people that know them. The person who really pushed this project was Bumpy Johnson's daughter's godson.
Daughter's godson. Wow, that's deep.
The woman who plays the Margaret character, the little girl, is his godson who was
Okay.
pushing really bad, and so she used to talk to him about Bumpy Johnson all the time, and so she knew all the people that knew him and things like that, and just introduced us to them. And then we actually have a consultant who took over the mosque after Malcolm X was killed. His name is
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting when you watch that show, like, you watch figures like that, they got ties to the church, ties to politicians, and not just low level politicians, like, ties to like national government, ties to
Mhm.
the white mob, just all. And then, even though they're selling drugs, in their mind, they're actually doing a service for the community. They're looking at, hey, I'm providing jobs, I'm funding this nonprofit, so.
Especially in the 60s because they didn't have any other options.
Right, right. So I mean, what
Mhm.
type of pressure do you feel to, yeah, and that's what I mean about writing, making it more than just a show about a guy who's a gangster. Granted, he is doing something wrong, but you guys do a good job of explaining why he's doing that, because he wasn't afforded, you know, other options. I mean, do you feel like what goes into that when you guys in the writing room? Are you intentionally trying to show all those different elements? Because he was cool with like Malcolm X and all of that.
And Adam Clayton Powell, yeah. I mean, yeah, we want to be as authentic as possible and entertaining as possible.
Okay.
So, we talk about that a lot and how it's relevant to today.
Mm.
But yeah, I want it to be good, and I am very invested in the show. I'm invested in any show that I write on, just because even though I'm not the architect of it, because I'm not the showrunner, I still want it, everything that I do to be good. So yeah, I'm very
So
invested.
so season two that hasn't started, right? In terms of like for the public.
Not for the public, no. And
Okay.
we were supposed to shoot in April
Mm-hmm.
or May, and they can't even go to New York.
Damn.
So I don't think we're gonna start shooting till like September.
So now that you had this downtime, I'm sure you're, with everything going on with COVID and coronavirus. I mean, I'm sure you've had time to kind of work on projects. I mean, what are some of the things that you're working on right now on the side that that you've been able to put time for?
I'm just writing my own stuff, and you don't know, like I'll write a feature and you don't know if people are going to take it or not. Um so I'm writing two features, and I just finished a pilot, and then I'm writing a pitch for a television series. So
So when you write these things, are these like secretive? Like you can't share them, or you only share them with your agent? Like how do you?
I just share it with my agent and then give it to production companies and stuff like that. I actually haven't even gotten to that part because it's really hard to write your own stuff when you're working. And I have not, since Godfather of Harlem, I haven't had more than a month off of work. So shout out to my managers because and my agent. So they have, I haven't stopped. So it's been pretty hard. So now quarantine.
The Rona.
Corona. I
So
call it quarantine because for me, I'm not. Nobody is really affected over here, so it's quarantine for me, and I'm like, the world slow down, Resheida, go. So I've been writing a whole lot so that I can get out and then sell my own stuff. But one thing I know that I don't want to do is I don't want to get something before I'm ready for it. You
mm,
you see like these people that like get their own show and then they crash and burn because they weren't ready for it. So right now I still consider myself in the incubator and just pounding the keys and making sure that I'm really getting knowledgeable so that when I get the opportunity, I come out the gate swinging.
well, question, what, and this is a common question that comes up. Why do you think it's not more black shows on TV, or the black shows that are on TV, they have to kind of be so blatant, like Blackish or Black as fuck, or they got to be, do you think that black people are well represented when it comes to sitcoms and the work that you do?
Well, right now we just have more programming. So we have, now that streaming has opened up, it's so many black shows. Um, and I think that we are getting to the point. So with white shows, you could have an Ozark. Do you watch Ozark?
Yeah, crazy show, love it.
Love it. But like if you did a black show like that, we'd be like, dang, we sick of seeing ourselves like that. You know what I'm saying?
Oh
Because
yeah.
we don't have they have, the successful black man and they have this and the man who's stealing, the criminal. So they have different representations of their life and nothing is considered this is white, because they have so many shows. So we are getting there now with the amount of programming that's being on TV, and Issa Rae is doing a great job of
Mm.
presenting as well. Um, I think Lena Waithe is doing a great job of presenting as well. I think now we what's the show on ABC, For Life, the guy that is sentenced to a life sentence but he didn't do it.
The joint that 50 Cent behind.
The 50 Cent one, 50 Cent,
Yeah.
yeah, Power. So we have Power and we sure, and that's the point, that we just need enough programming to show all the facets of our life and our culture so that nothing gets stuck with, see, that's black people.
Yeah, no, that's a hell of a point, because for a lot of people who don't interact with black folks on a day-to-day basis, their only representation of us is what they see on TV.
Right.
So, that's really why I asked that. And for me, I remember watching The Wire. That was the first time that I ain't gonna say I gained respect for criminals, but you got to see, like, man, if these guys were given the tools, they would be legit businessmen and they could do, some amazing things. So that's,
Exactly.
that's really good to hear that. So okay, so we talked about your projects. I mean, so now this is the portion of the time where I ask everybody on the show, to think about their legacy. And so that's what I want to ask you. What well, you know what? Before I go there, before I ask that question,
Okay.
what about the show Black as Fuck? Okay. I know in your circles, because you live in that world, and I know that and from what I've seen, I'm not a fan of the show personally, but I want to know, I mean, what when you hear that word Black as Fuck, and even in amongst your circles, I mean, what are your thoughts, or what do you think about how the response has been? Because I've heard people, they like it or they hate it, or they like force themselves to watch it because it's a black show. I mean, what are
Right.
your thoughts on that?
That art is subjective, and that it's you find your people. There's people that love Tyler Perry stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and people who don't. There's people that don't love Shonda Rhimes stuff, which is, to me, I'm like, what?
Yeah.
And then they do, and so that's to be expected. Whatever piece of art that you do, there are going to be hate it viscerally and love it viscerally. Like that's just how it is. I think naming it Black was of course going to put, I mean, he named Blackish, and Blackish had the same amount of criticism
Yeah.
because of the name of it. It was like he was prescribing, this is what Black people do. So now Black people are like, I have a right to critique it because of the name of it. Because
Yeah, I
I'm Black,
mean,
you're saying this is what we do, and we don't. I
yeah,
think that's where the criticism is.
yeah. To me, when he called it black as fuck, like that AF part, like I'm like, okay, now you got a responsibility. Basically, you creating a brand and you penetrating all these households, especially after all that success that you've had with your other shows, that people are going to think that, that's how Black people roll. And, of course, I'm not on that level at all in terms of balling or nothing like that. But the show just didn't resonate with me. But there are people that enjoy it, because when I ask my
Yeah.
friends, a lot of people are split on it. So
Yeah,
it's
and then it has a different tone. Like it has that Curb Your Enthusiasm tone.
yeah.
And like I don't like Curb Your Enthusiasm. It's like a sarcastic, you don't like dry humor that everybody does. It doesn't translate to everybody the same.
Mhm.
So it really is just subjective. And I knew just from the title of it that it was going to be a thing. And I have been in Blackish, and the thing is, you're supposed to write your experience. But what they want Black creators to do is be like, write the Black experience. And he's like, but this is my experience
Mhm.
and I'm Black. So, it's just something for everybody. I don't, Kenya's a writer, so he will write something else that probably, will appeal to others. But I think he was itching to write about the life he's living now, and
Yeah,
so
for sure. So I
yeah.
mean, are writers like do writers get to a level where they're like comedians, where they just have a team? They kind of like under bosses, I guess, that work for them, and then they contribute to them, and then this head writer kind of gets credit for it. Does it work like that at all?
Like like employed people that follow him everywhere.
Like on like some people accuse Kevin Hart of not writing all his stand up. They say he has a team of people and they come up with it, but then Kevin goes and does it. Is it like that at all with writers?
Yeah, because no show. I mean, I think
But
Game
Kevin
of
Hart kind of
Thrones.
gets the credit. So you saying it is like that?
Yeah,
Okay.
because think about like Shonda Rhimes. Everybody like when they see those shows, like, all right, Shonda. Shonda had a team of writers
Hmm.
working with her. People forget that there's a writers room that goes behind that, and she's the head person. So again, she's the architect of it. So it can't get on through her. But there were people there who were pitching her ideas, and she liked those ideas. She took some, she didn't take some. So that's, she should get credit for it, because essentially it's everything that's her taste.
Hmm.
Whoever runner, that's their taste. The writer's job to pitch them things that they will take, because now we know their taste. We know what they'll like, and then we
Oh,
pitch
okay.
them that. So yeah, Kevin Hart should get credit for it, because his delivery, he
I
delivers
agree.
it.
I agree. I agree. And he cutting the check. So I mean,
And there's only so much art you yourself can get from your experience.
Mhm.
That's limiting. You have to bring in new people so that you get other experiences to deliver, because I think Kevin got rid of all his stories after like the third like
Yeah.
stand up. So it's like, oh, well, tell me something about you, man.
Yeah, for sure. So what about so now that you've accomplished a lot in this game, I mean, do you have any like where do you see yourself in 10 years?
Showrunner.
Showrunner, okay. Um I have
I
another
want
question. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I want you guys don't know this person. I want to be the Black female Greg Berlanti. So
Who?
Greg Berlanti, he has, I'm gonna just say a number, but it's either close to this. I'm just rounding. He has like 56 shows on television right now. He is not in any of those rooms. So basically, he is like his own production company. So he did Everwood, he did these great shows, and then he got his own production company. And now my agent could be like, okay, Greg, meet with her, meet Resheida. He hears my
Yeah.
idea, he likes my idea, so he joins forces with me, and then I am now over that show, but he gets money. You know,
Right.
so he has like 56 people that are over shows and he gets money.
Wow. So how in tune are you with the actual business side of things, where you're putting money up and you know you're like investing in projects?
I'm not
No, is that so? That's something that
TV.
you're
I
trying
mean,
to get into with.
that's more film.
Okay.
And I can't invest in no show yet. Like I'm not there yet. I'm just producer level. But no, it would be that because it's really his name. It's like Greg Berlanti is bringing in this project that Resheida Brady wrote. Who's Resheida Brady? I don't know, but I know Greg Berlanti. And so they're like, oh, Greg Berlanti, you're going to make this idea, which is a good idea that Resheida came up with. You're going to make it good? And he's like, yeah. And then they trust him more than they trust me. And then when they see that I can accomplish it, then they start trusting my name. So that's how it works.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So what does the what does Resheida Brady now tell the 17-year-old Rashida or 18-year-old is going into Howard, who wants to be a producer in LA and who wants to, be a writer on these amazing shows that are seen across the world? What advice do you have for that girl?
um I would tell her to live it up now because the problem was I was a hermit when I was at Howard. And I was like in my room all the time in this little cocoon and just like worried that it wouldn't happen for me. But if I knew then what now that it was going to happen, I would have lived it up like a whole lot more. I would have come out my shell, I think, a lot more rather than sitting in my room worrying. Um, young people have these big aspirations. I am pretty pessimistic and I'm like, what happened? So I think that would have been I would have been like, live like you know what's going to happen.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So what about it in terms of your legacy? You put the work in, you put the hours in. I'm sure you got some student loans out there. you know, um, what do you want your legacy to be when it's all said and done?
I want to be known as the career maker.
Hmm.
I want to jumpstart so many um, overlooked Black actors and actresses' career. That's a huge passion of mine. So I write really hard and really well because I think it's unfair that um, you don't know this person, Jennifer Williams. Do you know Jennifer Williams?
No, I don't know her.
She uh she actually just won an Emmy for like something, I forgot the name of it, but she basically was on Dawson's Creek, and so she was on Dawson's Creek and she got to practice while
Mm.
she was on Dawson's Creek, and now she has Oscars. She was in Brokeback Mountain. She was like now she has Oscars, but it was because she got to practice on Dawson's Creek, and I feel like a lot of Black actors don't get that opportunity.
I didn't even know it was Black actors in Dawson's Creek. She was on Dawson's Creek.
She's white.
Oh, okay.
That's my point. That's my point.
I was like,
White
who is
people get
this?
to practice, Black people do not, because it's look, Taraji's just getting like really big at 45. And yes, she has like smaller roles where she could practice too, but I have so many friends who are really talented and they just are not getting parts, and not because they're not good, but because there's very limited parts for Black people. And whenever there is a Black role, they want to get somebody like Issa Rae, like somebody already big. And I'm like, don't you want to jumpstart somebody's career? And so I want to write so well that overlooked Black actors can have the opportunity to practice, and I want to basically jumpstart their careers. As on the WB network is like huge, and
Wow.
you didn't know those people at first on the
Don't have a
WB, and
clue.
I
Don't have a clue.
didn't
So
know.
so what does it mean for like, somebody to win like if you win an Oscar versus winning an NAACP award, how does that affect your career, you know, with those two awards?
I don't know exactly.
No?
It's kind of like, I remember Monique said this and it was interesting. She was like, I don't know why Black people are so thirsty to win an Oscar and an Emmy. those are not our people. Our people are NAACP. Our people are the BET Awards. Like, I'm excited about giving me an award, and I thought it was valid of her to say that. There is a kind of underlying thing of, well, we live in a white world, right? So Oscars and Emmys are, to get that is the pinnacle of recognition, but our awards are not seen as prestigious, and so that's just America being America.
Yeah. No, I feel you. I mean, I just always wonder why, people. Well, I know that financially, if you get a Grammy, Oscar, and you're an actor or something, I'm sure that you get a ton of other opportunities to work on projects. And like you said, it is America. But I've always wondered, what folks' answers would be who work in that field.
Yeah.
So, ladies and gentlemen, that's Resheida Brady from Howard University, big time producer out there in Tinseltown, Hollywood. Right now, we're gonna transition to the rapid fire round. So now in this round, you can only give a one-word answer. Okay, you cannot expound on your answer, and that's it. So I'm gonna ask you 10 questions, and you just got to give me your answer. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So. Number one, what was your best Howard experience? In one word.
Homecoming.
Homecoming. That was a safe one. Timberlands or Air Force Ones?
Timberlands.
Let's see. Tyler, Spike, or Singleton?
Singleton.
Sitcoms or movies?
Movies.
Okay. East Coast or West Coast?
East Coast.
Wow. You've been on the West Coast for some years now. Ho Chi or China Wonder?
Ho Chi.
Is it what you know or who you know?
Oh, I hate that.
Were you a Drew girl or a Carver girl?
True.
Yardfest or tailgate?
Yardfest.
Okay. All right. Thanks. So that was good. That was good. You answered every question. All right. So let's get back to it. Now we're gonna have Jeopardy. Now remember, I'm gonna show this. It's gonna be like a teaser that I'm gonna play for everybody.
Terrified.
All right. I'll do something easy for you. All
okay.
Right. What year was Howard founded?
Okay. That is not easy. 1868.
No.
You said you were going to give me something easy.
That was easy. 1867.
Okay, I was 1 year off.
Who is the School of Sea named after?
Johnson.
No, it was. It's Kathy Hughes now, but it's okay.
Why are we doing this?
Okay, it's okay. Who's the president of Howard?
I
don't know. I'm airing all of this. Can you name me 3 famous alumni from the theater department?
Jesus. Debbie Allen. Felicia.
Yes, please. Come on, just one more. Give me one more.
Lance Gross.
Okay, thank you. Goodness gracious. That was tough. Okay. Thanks, Resheida. Thank you.
Oh, Taraji.
Taraji. Well, you got 4.
Bonus.
That was good. So, yes, Resheida, thank you again for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. Thank you for joining the HU Movemaker podcast, where we highlight folks that have contributed to the Howard legacy at the highest levels. To hear more interviews or purchase merchandise, please visit www.humovemakers.com.